The perianal abscess and fistula is basically dependent on the artery part. So again, I will not go into the much of the details. I will explain to you earlier. The anal canal, again 2.5 to 4 centimeter long, begins superiorly. The palpebral muscular ring is formed by fusion of puborectalis muscle. The dentate of pectinate line I have explained to you. I have also explained why the internal opening of all fistulas are mostly at the dentate line. So again, same thing, anatomical anemia, sexual anemia, anodal, dentate line, white line of Britton, and this is anorectal junction. You should remember the landmark centimeters from the this. So the anatomical canal defined, I have told you, puborectalis ring, I have told you. So location, somewhat about the location, situated around levator and eye muscle. It lies in the anal region triangle from anorectal junction to anus anorectal junction, 2 to 3 centimeter in front and below little is the coccyx. Surface opening of anal canal, 4 mm in front and below tip of coccyx. Upper part, middle part, I have completed these all things. This is important to understand the physiology and pathology of fistula. These are anal columns which are 6 to 10 vertical mucosal ridges. Then permanent mucosal folds. It contains radial superior radicals of superior rectal vein. Anal valves are there, which are semilunar mucosal folds uniting lower ends of anal column. And anal sinus, the pectinate line or dentate line is formed by anal valves. These are semilunar mucosal folds uniting lower end of the anal column. Then anal sinus, these are the depressions above the anal wall, and floor contains opening of the anal glands. So here you can see this. Here you can see this. This is the dentate line, again the same diagram, and the anal valve is there and anal gland is there. Anal gland is in the intersphinctic place. So any infection which is coming from the rectum to anal canal, or there is an infection or there is discharge, it goes from this place to intersphinctic place, and this is the development of abscess. So generally internal opening, the window is in the dentate line at this place, and the abscess flows from here to outside and intersphinctic place. So we have to remember that dentate line is the opening of the abscess or any infection of fistula. So in this diagram, as you see, this is the component of muscle, external sphincter, internal sphincter, and this is the gland. So this is the middle part of pecten. I have explained you. In this, there is a white line of Milton also due to presence of dense venous plexus between mucosa and muscle cord. Lower part and white line of Milton, which is 2 cm approximately from the anal burst. So I have told you these things. Anodal is between dentate line and the anal burst. You have to preserve this anodal in any surgery to prevent stricture or stenosis. And for people who have joined later, a 10 mm proximal to the dentate line, the anal transition zone is found. It appears purple and represents the area of gradual transition from squamous epithelium to a columnar epithelium. The transitional zone is known to be associated with sampling reflex, which means this area discriminates from feces and gases. This slide is very important to understand the basics of opening of retromedullary anal fistula. The column of Morgagni begins at the dentate line and crypts are at its base. Anal crypts are connected to the underlying anal glands to the anal duct, and these are presumed to be the source of perianal abscess and fistula. The anal gland ducts proceed from the anal canal and enter the submucosa, where 2/3 enter the IAS. And the obstruction of these ducts is postulated to be the anal fistula making, and it is located at the dentate line. This is I have shown. This is I have shown. So all this has been done. So we will come directly to the perianal abscess. So infection which originates in the intersphinctic veins, most likely around the anal glands. This may result in simple intersphinctic abscess, extend vertically either upwards, downwards, horizontally, circumferentially, resulting in varied clinical presentations. Anorectal abscess. So it could be anorectal abscess, could be supralevator. It could be issue-rectal, it could be like here, intersphinctic, which is the most common, and perianal. So the maximum number of cases which we have seen in the perianal, abscess is perianal abscess, which is 60%. Issue-rental is 20%, intersphincteric is 12%, supralevator is 5%, submucosal is almost 1%. So this is the etiology of endometrial abscess. It is sometimes non-specific, cryptogranulum, specifically inflammatory bowel disease, Crohn's disease, ulcerative colitis, infection, tuberculosis, actinomycosis, lymphogranuloma menor, trauma, foreign body, surgery, episiotomy, hemorrhaectomy. It could be many of the causes are there. Malignancy could be the cause. So what is the etiology and pathogenesis? It is going again 4 to 10 glands and dentate line, infection of the temporomandibular epithelium resulting from obstruction of the glands, ascending infection into the intersphincteric space and other potential spaces, bacteria centrifugated mainly are E. coli, enterococci and bacteroids. Other causes are Crohn's, tuberculosis, carcinoma, lymphoma and leukemia, trauma, and inflammatory pelvic conditions, appendicitis. Pathophysiology is anal crypt obstruction, dendrosecretion stasis, again infection and suppuration and abscess formation. Clinical presentation: abscess, perianal, discharge and fever, tender, fluctuant, erythema, issue rectal chills, fevers, intersphincteric rectal pain, chills, fevers, and these are the clinical. Diagnosis: gradual onset of pain, sensation of pressure and fullness, fever, previous episodes of intrarectal sepsis. Physical examination. Physical examination, you have to do a DRE if it is, you can feel for the localized swelling, hyperemia, induration, tenderness, and it also can be confirmed with needle excision. Always remember, in the case of management of perineal abscess, the latest consensus says you have to tell the patient about the chances of fistula formation further after the surgery. If you are doing a perineal abscess, you have to take a written consent and tell the patient that later on it can develop into a fistula, because it's many times it happens you have done a perineal abscess and it becomes a fistula, and the patient is very much worried and he comes to you again that you have not told about this and this has again occurred. So, and the patient loses faith in you and he goes to another doctor. In my practice, many patients comes to me who has been operated for perineal abscess in the periphery and they have now developed a fistula and they are coming to me abusing that doctor that they have done a complication. So it is very important and mandatory right now in your practice, if patient is having perineal abscess, you have to explain him that it can lead to a fistula formation later in this level. And if possible, what I do take a written consent. You should also take a written consent.
So, sir, most of the perineal abscess they are related with the fistula.
Yes.
So should we do the drainage of abscess along with the fistulostomy?
Fundamentally, you have to understand two things. First, you are seeing the perineal abscess, right? It is, you have to ask the patient two things. Is there any pus discharge from the outside? If there is outside pus discharge, then it's a fistula. If there is not outside pus discharge, then it could be a sinus or it's simply a perianal or a issue-rental abscess. Then you ask the patient, if the pus is coming from the anal region. If the pus is coming from the anal region, or if he has seen the pus, then it means the internal opening is there and external opening is not made. So it's basically a sinus there. Sinus with a fistula. If it is a fistula with a sinus, then you have to excise, you have to drain the pus and you have to excise the internal opening also, and you have to place a C-top. If there is no pus discharge from inside, and in clinical examination, if you don't find any internal opening, then you only have to do an IND. You have to drain the pus and you have to tell the patient that it could further lead to a fistula formation. I have done my best job, I have drained the abscess. So these are three different scenarios of fistula, sinus, and internal opening is there or not, and there is pus discharge or not. So you have to decide it accordingly. Recently, what I have to share with you, many cases are coming which are coming from Agra, from many places to me, which are having intersphincteric abscess, and it is really very difficult to diagnose that intersphincteric abscess. What is there? I tell you precisely. Many doctors write piles, fissure. They are not able to understand that it's an intersphincteric abscess, and patient is having pain because of intersphincteric abscess and not because of piles and fissure. Recently only one patient will be coming to be operated today only. I have asked him to come. I don't know whether there is any. The patient came to me with this is a very interesting case I am telling you. Patient came to me with a history of pain in ano, severe pain in ano, with bleeding also, sometimes bleeding, and there are hypertrophic anal papilla also, and fissure is there. And he has shown to around 7 to 8 doctors in Agra, and he has given medications, and he was not healing. He came to me for my opinion. I saw the patient in OPD. I did a PR and a proctoscopy examination. What I felt in the examination, that patient, I showed me the papers of different doctors. Somebody wrote it's grade 3 piles, somebody wrote it's a chronic fissure, and somebody wrote anatomy is high, painful. When I did the PR and proctoscopy examination, I felt the induration, thick induration at 12 o'clock, which was going throughout the dentate line and it was going backward towards that area which is the anorectal ring. I can feel that induration, hard induration. Then I palpated that. So I came to understand that the basic pathology of the patient is not about the piles, it's not about the fissure, which he is trying to different doctors, and for the last 2 months he has been asked to get operated for piles and fissures. I asked him to get an MRI done because I was suspecting a intersphincteric with supralevator abscess because it was the bogginess was above the anorectal ring was also there. So I asked him to get an MRI done because I told him that you are not having a problem because of piles and fissure. It is mainly because of intersphincteric abscess or sinus is there. So he got an MRI done. I don't have the picture. In MRI, it was clearly shown that there was an abscess which was at 12 o'clock and it was going